down there in Mississippi, back in those days, because that's my family background. And as far as, don't trust, certain women have a trust issue, and it's really uneducated. It's really they're not really as educated as they should be growing up. And one thing I can say with certain women, especially, is very important for black women, is they need to start really loving themselves at an early age and just have that love, because I could even tell, I go over to the laundromat to wash my clothes, and I see little girls, one little girl playing, and another girl will play with that girl. Don't play with her. Don't. Stay away from her. Stay away from her or whatsoever. It's because that mother's filled with bitterness and vinegar or whatsoever, and you shouldn't necessarily spill. You should never spill that all to the child. I don't know what the child has done, but it's when dummies have children, you're going to have a dumb child.
Oh God.
And that's the cycle.
Why did you say when dummies have children?
Dummies.
Why I gotta be a dummy?
I mean, well, it's basically.
Real talk now.
When dummies have children, you're gonna, it's going to be an endless cycle until you make a terrible, harsh mistake somewhere. I'll say in your 20s or so, and then you get, focused and re-educated. And that happens to everybody, because even there's certain mistakes that I say I can see that my parents have made, but I learned from my mistakes, and now and I correct that, and that's just the cycle.
Right. Right.
So you can't. There's a lot of dummies out there. So.
Yeah, we need more black men to take. And there's no anything towards you, real talk now, because I know you're a dad, but you're a good dad. But a lot of black men, it seems like it's like after their daughter hits a certain age, they feel like they can't talk to their daughter. It's like there's some type of perversion. Like they look at her as no longer their sweet daughter, but as this sexual being. And so they feel uncomfortable talking to their daughters. And we need more black fathers to talk to their daughters, if they are even in the picture, but we need them to talk to their daughters and lay the game down, because nobody can lay the game down better than a man to a girl.
Exactly. Exactly. You're totally right about that.
If more women felt good about themselves, we wouldn't have the problems that we have today.
Well, I agree with you. I think that the men need to step up and teach us, but meanwhile, I didn't have the men there. I didn't have the right men in my life, so it's not. We can't say that because the men are not here, that and the man is our best teacher. I don't believe that the man is the only best teacher that we can have, because I had to teach myself. Because there were a lot of older men that were qualified to give me game, but they wanted to give me dick. And they could have really sat down and just told me, look, baby, this is what you have, and this is what's going to happen to you if you don't know who you are and that you don't believe that you shit. Because I was told you ain't shit and you ain't going to be shit. And my mother would say things like that to me. And I really didn't believe I was pretty or smart or any of those things. It's like when people hear me talk now, they're like, well, so how did you get like that? And were you always? I'm like, no, I've only been like this in the past 4 or 5 years, because I just screamed. I just woke up one day and I just started screaming because I got so tired of being fucked. And I realized that I did not like myself, and I did not like my life. And I always wanted to escape my life and be like somebody else. And I always wanted to be loved. And I always wanted people to be my friend. And I always wanted people to like me. So I would let people fucking use me. I mean, I used to give stuff away. Women would come in my life and pretend like they would be my friend. Oh, I like that dress. And I would say, oh, you like it here? You can have it. Oh, you buy them stuff. I mean, and my son, and that's, in a way what you're saying, like you said, that's true. If we have the daddy there, and he is really secure with himself, and he knows that his daughter is his daughter. Because I'm going to tell you, sometimes when those men cannot talk to their little girls because the little girl got titties and she's bleeding because she has a menstrual cycle and he knows she's a woman, it's best for him to step the fuck back, because some of those men are really struggling with wanting to fuck their daughter. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, I said it. A lot of them are fantasizing about having intercourse with their daughters. I know right here in Georgia and in my family, there has been incest that we don't discuss. And it's shit. It's been incest, especially living in the country and shit. Most of us have somebody in our family that's been fucked by a relative and like this shit and even come out open and say, this is what I'm doing and don't want to stop. But unfortunately, a lot of daddies have gotten their daughters pregnant. So some of them will pull away from the daughter because there's not something wrong with her, although she feels like it is because he won't tell her that his dick is hard. He won't tell her that she's not the problem. Many times they're pulling away because they're struggling with their own insecurity and their own inadequacy because they have not bonded with the girl as looking at her as she is a divine extension of my cosmic womb, which is in my testicles. She is the sperm cells that came out of me, and I merged with her mother and bonded with an egg, and now she is a part of that cosmic genealogy that is now a young princess. She's growing into a queen. She's a goddess, and I have to lead her. He cannot see her in that depth because he doesn't know who he is, and he can't see himself. He's still in his ego and dealing with his own lust. So it's best that they step aside. But, you know, when I was going through that stuff and didn't have the right mother there, because, you know, it's like the past few years, man, my mother just really started talking, and I had to really forgive her. And she just really just started opening up and talking to me about, look, I really didn't know, you know, that I know I hurt you. I didn't know how to be a mother. I left, and I really had a lot of shit that I had to deal with from niggas fucking over me, you know, and she actually got pregnant with me, and I was a product of a rape. So that was something that I always knew, but I didn't really know, like I know now, the depth and the impact of a woman, especially a woman of color, and you don't talk about it, and you can't go to the police, and nobody's going to believe you, and they're going to say, you hot, fast ass bitch. You didn't get raped. You wanted that dick, didn't you? You had no business there. If you weren't there, your panties wouldn't have got torn off, and you wouldn't have gotten forced down, and your mouth wouldn't have got punched in, and you wouldn't have got your mouth covered up or plugged up with a sock. You wouldn't have fucking gotten raped if you weren't there. It's your fucking fault. Don't tell me that. I'm not going to do anything about it because it's you. You're the whore. You're the slut. So many of our women internalize these things, and then dealing with the oppression of being a black woman in this society, dealing with racism, dealing with, you know, all of these things, dealing with the church and being even oppressed in the church. A woman is even on the bottom in the fucking church. So especially being a non-white woman, you have all, and then our own men preying on us, our own women preying on us. So I had to really look at that and get rid of that stuff, you know, really learn to forgive her for those issues that she went through. But then I had to learn how to give myself that game that daddy refused, or men refused to be the father figure. But you know what will happen to you too? Your son. Many times when women are divine and they don't realize they're divine and every man has fucked over you, a lot of times, and you want answers and you want truth, when you really let go of trying to let men love you and fuck you and trying to give yourself to people, thinking that that's going to make people see that you're good and make them come in, a beautiful male, a king god, will actually be created in your womb. Do you know, and I'm sure a lot of women can relate to this, and that's why it's so important to listen to your children, because you don't really know who they are. They're not just children. They're not just your property. When my son was born, and he was just a few years old, I remember, you know, I was on the phone with a girlfriend, and I had just fucked with some nigga that had just, like, fucked me over. I was, like, in my 20s, and I was just like, you know, they all leave, and they all do you wrong, and men ain't no good, and, you know, I'm just so tired of them fucking over me. And he stood up in his pamper. He said, Mama, I'm a man, and I'm here, and I ain't left you, and I love you, Mama. I'm a man. All men aren't, no, that's not true, Mama. I'm some good, and I'm a man. You know, and when he said that, he was like 2 or 3 years old. I was so shocked that he heard it, and he internalized it, and he understood it. And he just, like, was laying on the floor watching TV, and he just jumped up and stood straight up with his back straight. He just looked at me, and he said that. He's like, I'm a man. And I had to realize, and I didn't do that around him no more, that especially black women and being fucked up and going through shit. And that just touched me, and it's still just touching me now, just to remember that, you know, he was so young and he felt that black women have to be careful what you say to your sons. You have to be careful how you speak to your boys, because you don't know the wisdom that's in them.